Hey, everybody, before jumping into this week's episode, which is all about how to create content on social media, right? And then how to distribute it and everything. If you don't have time to be producing a ton of content on social media, you're in luck, because here at ReminderMedia, we have some great content produced and ready for you.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that. I mean, a lot of the marketing products we produce and have been at it now for about 18 years, almost 2 decades, we have been creating content. And so what we've done is we've actually collected all this content and really put it into a library that's searchable, that's categorized, that you can have, and it's all branded to you. So I'll give you an example. If you're a real estate agent, you're looking for real estate content. If you're looking for content on the home, we've got content that you can share on your social media, and it's branded to you. If you're in fitness, we got fitness tips, we got food, we got a ton of different stuff. And the best part about it is it's really, really easy, super high quality, and you can get in there, not only use the content, but schedule it out. We have schedulers built into our platform. That way you don't have to worry, is your social media up to date? Are you posting? We can take care of that for you.
Yep, and we have a great deal for Stay Paid listeners. You can go to staypaidpodcast.com/social, and you can get a free month. So your first month is going to be free to try out this tool. All of those articles that are branded to you. Again, that's staypaidpodcast.com/social. And now this week's episode.
From ReminderMedia, this is Stay Paid, a sales and marketing podcast on a mission to help you close more deals and retain more business. Hosted by the VP of Marketing, Josh Steik, and ReminderMedia's president, Luke Akery. So get ready to hear the golden nuggets that will allow you to live a life of freedom tomorrow, but only if you take action today.
Welcome to another Silver Dollar episode of Stay Paid, the best sales and marketing tips of your week in 15 minutes or less. Today, Luke, we're going to be talking about content.
Content, which is what we are doing right now.
We are doing very meta. Look, one of the greatest challenges in creating content for your brand is actually having the time to create all of the content you need in order to keep an audience engaged. But one way to lighten your load is to repurpose content.
Yes. That's content pyramid.
The content pyramid, creating multiple pieces of content, which could be videos, images, or text from one longer piece of content. Not only do we do this here at ReminderMedia and with Stay Paid, but this idea has really been popularized by Gary Vaynerchuk. And one of our team members sent me this content pyramid strategy kind of ebook that he put out, where he talks about how he made 33 pieces of content from a single keynote. And so we're going to use that as sort of a framework to go. It's not something like Gary Vee invented this thing, but I want to make sure that we give credit where credit's due. We're going to use his PDF as sort of a framework as we walk through. How can you take one piece of content and then break that down into multiple pieces that you can then distribute?
First thing is you have to be doing content. And if you're not doing content, you're missing out. I will tell agents, insurance agents, financial, like you got to get into the content game, because content is something that's like a flywheel. It takes so much effort to get spinning and get off the ground. But once you get it going and you've been at it for a couple of years, like this podcast alone has produced so much for us. And it also gives you so much credibility. One of the keys to content is the credibility that it gives you in the minds of the people, if you do it consistently.
Yeah.
Content done not consistently gives you no credibility.
Yeah. No, 100%. But you also have to be very purposeful with it. So you've got to schedule in time. Yeah. I know Ed Stulak, who's been on the podcast a couple of times, he'll even post on Instagram about it. Like, he's got content days where he will block off.
Glenda Baker does the same.
Glenda Baker does the same thing. So being able to block off. And so we've done it in this sense that every Tuesday from 3 to 5, we have that blocked off on our calendars ahead of time. Nobody can schedule meetings for Luke or I during those times, because that's when we schedule our interviews. If we don't have interviews, sometimes we'll do these Silver Dollar episodes, or we'll book another time where we'll sit down and do 2 to 3 of these episodes.
But I'm actually
thinking,
I thought about this when I was in Miami, about going, maybe I should just set aside a day to pump out tons of if not the whole month of social media content, because it is really hard when you're in the moment doing business to actually post on social media. You and I struggle. I can't throw you under the bus. I struggle with this.
Think about like the idea, like, I don't have time to schedule content into my, to actually devote an entire day to social media. Think about how much you would not be thinking about content and social media during your normal day.
It's also why Gary Vee talks about documenting versus creating. And I think a lot of that came out of the trueness of like engaging content is authentic content. But documenting allows you to produce content easier. You just document what you're doing.
Yeah. So the way that the model really works is it's kind of like a reverse pyramid. So the fat end of the pyramid being at the top. And at the top there is to document your pillar content. So your pillar content is the content that you will then create and repurpose from, which is repurposing into micro content. So that's kind of the second stage of that pyramid, where you create short form pieces of content. These could be articles, memes, images, quotes, stories, GIFs from those longer form pieces of content, which can be a vlog, so a video blog, Q&A show, or a podcast. And then the last piece is then distributing it across all social media. And I think it's really important here to choose the right platform to distribute each piece of content on. And we're going to walk through that a little bit as well. But documenting is so much easier than this idea that like, oh, I've got to actually stand in front of a camera and talk to it and come up with something to say, versus Glenda does I can't remember what her what the title was called, but basically she would film herself in the car. It was something in a Porsche or something like that. And she would just talk about a topic that she knew about, and I think that that's the important part. You've got the expertise. So pick a topic that you know about and just document that while you're driving around and doing your daily routine, versus, maybe finding time to stand in front of a camera and stare into its soulless black eye as it judges you.
Well, one of the keys, it is soulless. It is. And it does judge you. It judges you hard when you watch it back. Here's the thing though. It's like one of the keys to content is you got to talk about something you're passionate about. Right. So if you're a real estate agent and you're passionate about real estate, talk about that. If you're passionate about bikes, like being a cyclist because you do biking and all, is it biking or cycling?
Yeah, both.
Both. Yeah, exactly. I'm not a cyclist, obviously.
Unless you're standing still, then it's spinning.
Yeah, it's spinning.
Yeah.
So if you're passionate about that, you then can actually talk about that. You can actually film video on that. You can do those things, but you got to go with what you're naturally passionate about. Otherwise, you're going to run out really, really fast on content.
No, I love it. So now once you have that kind of pyramid understood, you've got your pillar content, you've got your repurposing into micro content, and then you've got distribution. The model then that you want to follow is document, like we talked about, create, which is creating the micro content, distribute, post on social media, listen. So then go onto your social media and look what people are reacting to. And then you create more pieces of micro content from that and then distribute it even further. And I really like the idea that like micro content is intended to bring people into your pillar content. So what Gary Vee actually posts, and I thought this was super interesting. I want to start trying it more because I don't do this enough. We post a lot of shorter clips from the podcast and stuff with the intention to, hey, go listen to the full episode in our bio or go watch the full video here. But what he does is he'll post his long form piece of content, which will normally be used, and to kind of give you an idea, the distribution platforms for your pillar content would be Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. The distribution that he recommends for your micro content, videos and images are LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, and Twitter. So, that makes sense. Those are more bite-sized kind of scrolling type of platforms. And then for your more micro content articles from that long form content would be like Quora, LinkedIn, your email newsletter, or your blog. But again, the idea that this micro content is to pull back to the main piece, he'll post his pillar content at 12. So that long form video, that daily vlog, or that
put it on IGTV or something like that. Yeah.
And then at 12:01, he posts all of his micro content.
Super interesting.
With the idea there being you've got this shorter form content on these platforms that may be more discoverable.
Sure.
They're not YouTube, which is a search platform, or a subscription-based platform where you've got to subscribe him almost to see those videos. That will then pull back to his long form content. And since he just posted it, he's going to get more engagement on that long form content, which will boost it and get it out to a wider audience.
We got to do that. Actually, I should pull up this Glenda Baker. I'll go to my page, but it shows you the power of, like, we took our Glenda Baker episode, made a reel. I posted this reel. You guys can kind of hear it here, but it has 4,121 views on this reel, which in the grand scheme, there's so many people that have more, but that's 4,121 people that are seeing that short piece of content that probably not all of them, but a lot of them now are jumping. Now, I said link in the bio, but I should do an IGTV right before I posted that. And see, I'm going to try that Gary Vee thing.
Yeah, no,
next time.
I definitely want to try that more. The other idea from when you're listening kind of to what, like when you're making the micro content, so your first step is you've got to imagine what people will be interested in. So Ariel produces all of our videos.
Like we'll make the reels, the bite-sized
3 to 4 social clips anywhere from 15 seconds to a minute long, depending on where we'll be posting them. I think a reel would be 15 to 30 seconds.
Yep.
An Instagram post would be 60 seconds. IGTV has to be over 60 seconds, but I found that when we post super long IGTVs, they don't really do really well. So I've kind of been taking the videos that Ariel does for YouTube, and then they're about 2 to 3 minutes long, and then putting those in IGTV. So anyway, your job is to go through and figure and think of what statement out of this long form content is going to resonate with my audience the most. Then after you post it, you go back and look at, well, what are people commenting? If someone says, oh my God, I loved it when they said, or when you said blank, or if they timestamp your video in the comments of a YouTube section, Gary Vee actually encourages his listeners to put the timestamp in. Why does he do that? Because it makes it super simple for his team to go through the content. Ariel like that. She's like, I would like that. Yeah. Go through the content, jump to the timestamp, pull that clip out. And then in that piece of micro content, you want to jazz it up a little bit, right? You want to use that meme card that Brendan Kane talked about whenever we interviewed him. You want to put that headline on the video itself along with your captions for that video, because a lot of people watch with the sound off. And that then creates more micro content for your brand.
That's so good. It's so good. And all you're trying to do is just get out in front of people in every different way, in every different frequency. Because even myself, I find myself, there's different phases of my day or different phases of my week where sometimes I want to listen to something a really long time. Sometimes I just want something bite-sized. But if the company is on every frequency level and you can actually reach people on every different kind of medium, that's just going to build your brand stronger and stronger in the minds of clients.
Yep. So there you go. That's the content pyramid. You want to document your pillar content. You want to repurpose that into micro content. You want to distribute that across the appropriate social media channels. Listen, see what people are interested in, create more micro content, and redistribute. So thank you so much for listening. Head on over to staypaidpodcast.com for the show notes. And the video of this episode will also include a link to that PDF. So it's like an 84-page PDF. He actually, after he explains sort of the framework, he goes through and walks exactly how he made all 33 pieces of content from that one keynote. Now, you probably aren't doing a keynote,
but
right?
you could get yourself interviewed on podcasts and stuff like that.
That's my idea. Is like you look at what he's created, because it's going to naturally give you ideas. And you'll be able to see those examples of the hook points that you can use as inspiration for your own videos. All right, so to support this show, we'd love it if you head on over to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, leave us a 5-star review and a comment to let us know how we're doing. And the best way to support the show is to tell a friend and share this on your social media. So, Luke, I actually found, I always start it with so, don't I? It's always so, yeah.
You can the tone of voice even changes just a little bit.
Well, I was very excited. This is a real story. This is a 100% true story. Last night, I found a box that contains all of my like old schoolwork and stuff in it.
You should bring that in for show and tell.
I went through it. Now, here's also going to date me a little bit. I actually found the mini VHS tape that I shot my music video on that I shared with the team.
Oh,
I embarrassed myself by showing them my college.
We have to put that in the show notes. There's no way. Just as an inside scoop. So the marketing team, I'll make this really short. We play a game every week where everyone submits a song, and then you guess the list of people and you try and guess who submitted what song. And last week, I forget what the theme was.
It was a title, like songs or artists with a vehicle in their name.
Oh, right. It was like mode of transportation. And Josh did this whole video back, I don't know if it was in high school or college, and just submitted this video. And everyone knew right away that it was Josh, but it was a brilliant video. We have to include it in the show notes. It's awesome. Amazing.
But anyway, in this box, I found all of these old notebooks where I had written like a bunch of songs. Like I've always just kind of written like lyrics and stuff like that. So I actually recently wrote a song about tortillas.
Tortillas, like tortilla chips? Or,
It's more of a rap. I hope that paid off, because that was a lot of setup.
That was great.
If you want to get a hold of me or Luke, you can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com. And of course, you can find us on social media. We are at Stay Paid Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. Luke is at Luke Acree on Instagram, so make sure to follow that.
Along.
And look at some of the examples that we're using from our podcast, turning that into micro content just for some inspiration for your own business. All right, for this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
Guys, and I'm Luke Acree. And here's the thing about content, that it's one of those things that you just have to keep pumping it out. I mean, I think about this podcast, and you just have to keep going and going and going and using it, because it's over time that it's really going to make the difference for you. So I want to encourage you, start today as your action item, start producing content. and think about it in this framework. Think of something you can do that's a long form piece of content. So maybe that is you get on a podcast and you get interviewed by somebody, or maybe that's you put together a little seminar class, right? And you can invite your clients to, invite prospects to, and you do this whole seminar, and then you break that content up into micro pieces to use across your social media platforms. But the key that I really want to encourage you in is start producing content, because if they consistently see you, your audience, if they consistently see you pumping out content, especially related to your industry, your expertise, they will naturally over time see you as an authority, see you as someone who's an expert on that subject matter. And that's your goal, because you got to get people to know, like, and trust you. Remember this, the difference between a top producer and a mediocre producer in every single industry is top producers take action. Take action on that today.